Hello, my name is Angie Zhang, and I'll be presenting our paper Stakeholder-Centered AI Design, Co-Designing Worker Tools with Gig Workers Through Data Probes on behalf of myself, Alexander Boltz, Jonathan Lynn, Chun-Wei Wang, and Kyung Lee. Increasingly, AI is being used in our everyday lives, from chatbots, personal assistants, cleaning robots, autonomous vehicles, facial ID verification, health diagnoses. Even so, researchers have found that AI is often a challenging medium to design. It defies traditional product design for designers trying to work with it because it's difficult for designers to understand all AI can or cannot do and envision its vast number of use cases, not helped by the fact that traditional prototyping tools are not sufficient in uncovering AI capabilities. Methods like paper and pencil sketching can be insufficient for representing abstract AI use cases. Thus, alternative prototyping methods are necessary. To address this, a thread of research has investigated how to use data to assist the process of designing AI, such as having participants view historical data to conduct AI product feature prototyping, or to deliberate over organizational decision-making practices, or using social media data to design digital experiences. At the same time, there have been more and more calls for AI design to be human-centered. For example, AI in the workplace is a domain that's raised concerns for how it manages and surveils workers, such as wearables that gather information about warehouse worker movements and conduct performance evaluations, and especially through digitally mediated work such as gig work platforms, which use AI to assign work and earnings, track worker movements, and even review workers. In response, some researchers have turned to methods of co-design with impacted stakeholders to generate AI design ideas rooted in their experiences. For example, co-design with gig workers has been used to surface ideas for designing algorithmic management interventions or investigate what tools gig workers use to assist their work and how. Gig work presents a unique potential for conducting stakeholder-centered AI design by using data. On these platforms, enormous amounts of data are collected about workers. Uber, for example, collects things like the driver's location, details about the trip, mileage, request start end times, and earnings. As some parts of the globe have expanded data regulations, companies have begun to allow workers to request and download their own work data. This gig work data is unique to explore with drivers because it encompasses not just their work strategies, but it also embeds their personal circumstances that influence those work strategies. Thus, we pursue exploring with gig workers their own data in order to advance stakeholder-centered AI design. The work presented today is an extension of the study we conducted with rideshare drivers in the past. We held co-design workshops to surface drivers' ideas for algorithmic management interventions, and we presented these findings to our community advisor, an organizer of the Chicago Drivers Guild, who shared how he resonated most with the drivers' ideas of evaluating their own data to derive insights to support work strategies and well-being. This led us to our study where we held co-design sessions with Chicago drivers. Using their real Uber data and Chicago city-level rideshare data, we created data probes, visualizations, or tools that present driving data in familiar formats for them to reflect and surface well-being and AI considerations. There were two design principles that guided us in our creation of data probes. First, we wanted to create data probes in formats that can support drivers in reflecting on their data and subsequent actions they can take. Borrowing from Lee et al.'s personal informatics model, we draw from these latter two stages of reflection and action, considering how work data may be presented to drivers to reflect on their work and their personal contexts. For example, one of the data probes we created was a calendar, an artifact many people interact with regularly to help them recall personal or recurring events that may have influenced their work. For a second design principle, we wanted to center worker contexts inspired by feminist intersectionalism literature. We incorporated exercises and prompts through the session in order to center positionality and well-being of workers as they evaluated their data probes. Positionality refers to how our identities impact the way we interact with and move through the world. Drawing from Duckworth's Wheel of Power, a visual representation of exploring our positionalities, we created an initial positionality activity for drivers. We use typical attributes such as education level or being a caretaker combined with driver-specific attributes such as owning versus renting a car to encourage drivers to consider how their personal circumstances shape the choices they make for work. We also introduced the concept of well-being to participants at the beginning of the session, psychological, physical, and financial well-being, and asked them whether they'd like to change anything in their work to improve their well-beings. For both positionality and well-being, we included prompts throughout the co-design session to help drivers connect their work patterns with these two concepts and how they identify. In co-design sessions, we had 12 participants, all Chicago-based drivers, and each participant explored 5 unique probes summarized here. We used 2 data sources, the driver's actual Uber data that they provided, as well as Chicago City level data publicly available. We used unfolded AI to generate the first probe and Tableau to generate the rest. The goal of our co-design session was to allow drivers to explore each data probe in conjunction with considerations of their positionality and their well-being to surface how personal context inform how drivers prefer to work and or how drivers are able to work. The specifics of our co-design session for drivers is described in further detail in our paper. In analyzing the transcripts of sessions and notes of how participants interacted with probes, we used thematic analysis to identify 3 main themes of insights for how drivers use data probes, as well as their corresponding design considerations. I'll just focus on one today. So one theme of insights from using data probes was participants identifying new factors which we had not included in our data probe design. For example, while reviewing his personal data on the hourly data probe, participant 7 explained that passenger interactions influenced his well-being more than what time of day he's driving. Additionally, some like participant 5 explained that the precarious nature of rideshare driving impacted his well-being significantly. He told us that Sundays are family days, otherwise days off, but then explained how uncertainty inherent in his work led to a lack of motivation early in the week, so he ends up having to work every day in order to make up for the slow first half of the week. Correspondingly, participants shared new predictions or features they wanted to see from assistive AI. Several of them, while exploring the work planner, explained that they actually wanted to see predictions around passenger tips instead, or be told optimal start locations and times for work to help them structure work in order to address the precarity of it. Our findings have 3 main implications, and as we have time for just one right now, I'll share how data probes can be used by designers to elevate stakeholder expertise in AI design. Data on its own can only reveal so much. Exploring worker data through data probes with drivers showed us how their positionalities and well-being often determines hard constraints they hold in their driving. Additionally, using their positionality and well-being to contextualize their work patterns, drivers can raise considerations or challenges designers may not have thought of before. For example, several participants described how, due to Uber's constant app changes, their data seems to reflect haphazard patterns, though they were able to pinpoint it to specific in-app feature changes. Similarly, multi-platform drivers discuss switching between apps in specific ways that may otherwise appear inconsistent upon evaluation of the data on its own. Both of these are reminiscent of data drift problems and exploration with drivers to contextualize how and why their patterns are changing based on app changes or their personal situations can augment explorations in this domain. Thank you so much. Again, for more details about our methods, additional findings, and implications, please see our paper and please reach out to us if you have any questions or want to follow up with our work. Thanks again.